Hello, I hope you've had a lovely week. And I hope you're having a lovely month. It's August, which means two things. It's my birthday month and time for a little reflection. This year feels different. Not because something huge happened on the outside, but because something deep shifted on the inside. A few years ago I had a podcast. I was excited, but I wasn't really ready. I was doing some funny things, including promoting it on all the dating apps that I was on. Literally copy and paste the same message to everyone, which resulted in me being reported as a bot account. I would just say, hey, listen to my podcast, and I'd post a link to it. I'm laughing now, but looking back, it was not the right way to promote it. But also it wasn't the right podcast. I was still looking for external proof that what I was doing mattered, and that's actually something I want to touch upon today. This podcast feels like it's coming from a totally different place. And having done both, I can see the difference. It's coming from a quieter place, a stronger place, one that doesn't need to be loud to be clear. I'm reflecting on this past year, the one where I stopped beating myself up. And of course, it's still work in progress, but I did. I started loving the in-between versions of myself and finally became comfortable in my own skin. Until I did that, I was always thinking I'm not good enough, or I need to be extremely knowledgeable to do things, and I'm not, so I'm just going to sit quietly and just observe people who can do things better. I had this negative self-talk. So this year feels so much more different than any other year of my life. First year where I've actually put having agency as a priority in my life. Having agency, having control, actively pushing forward and actively doing things. So when it came to modeling, for example, I realized there was very little I could do to affect the jobs I was getting. You can do the self-tapes, you can do castings, you can go to the gym, you can look after your skin, etc., but that's not the same thing as actively creating your life and a path for yourself. When I came up with the idea for the podcast, it felt like a way to create my own narrative, create meaning in my life, which is something really important for me, and it's something I recommend to people. Think about what's important to you and think about something that you can do, that you can actively do. Whether it's a hobby or a job, and it doesn't always have to be a job, it doesn't always have to be your main thing, but it has to be something that you can have control of, that you can be the creator of, and you can build and craft and mold into something beautiful, something that will be growing. So think about that. And again, it doesn't have to be anything big. So today's story is a story of alignment. Misalignment, growth, self-trust, and softening into who you are. Now that I have my solo podcast, I see the difference because at the time I was chasing validation. I was rushing the process. I was needing to prove something, which is why I was looking at these signs all the time like, yeah, this is true. This is for sure right. This is for sure right. It's the universe telling me I'm on the right path. And now it's something that just feels authentic. My podcast right now, it's something that feels home. It feels grounding. I'm not rushing it. I'm not even looking at signs because I realized looking at these kind of things could be so deceiving. It's almost like this pretty picture and puzzle that's matching perfectly, but it's all on the outside. So on the inside, it's not something that necessarily feels authentic to you. But essentially, this experience wasn't a failure. It was a necessary stepping stone. Things come to you when it's time, when you're ready. I needed time to figure myself out, to go through certain things, to become the person who is ready to not seek validation from the outside, who is ready to give my own validation. Even if something doesn't last, it's still part of your path. It's still part of your story. There are all these beautiful, elaborate stories. And we need to give ourselves more credit. The biggest shift this year wasn't external, it was internal. I felt the exact moment I stopped beating myself up for not being ready enough or perfect enough. When the idea of the podcast came in February, that was actually quite crushing when I started recording solo episodes and I was just not happy with them. I was like, oh, I don't know, this is not really doing anything for me. I waited all this time to have a purpose and now it's not doing anything for me. The idea of the podcast came in February and I had like a few weeks to plan things and then I maybe started recording in March. And I'd just sit in front of my laptop and my microphone, talk, and be really, really unhappy. At the time, I hadn't even thought about a conversation with someone else because it was like, how will I find people to talk to? How will I know what to talk about? It hadn't even crossed my mind. But the thing is, when you start doing, things come to you. When I set to create the podcast, the inspiration was lit, the drive. I started recording and it was just not doing anything for me. And then I messaged a few people, do you want to speak on my podcast? And that felt amazing. Having conversations with people felt incredible. And it's something that I wasn't even thinking about when I started the podcast. It didn't even cross my mind. And now it's my favorite thing. Because when you talk to someone else, a new idea is formed. When you have a conversation, a debate, or whatever it is with someone else, you have someone else's opinion, someone else's way of seeing the world, of relating to the world. This has been the year I started loving myself where I am at the time things are happening, not before, not after. And until that shift happened, I had no control of my life. I had no agency in my life. And sometimes that's scary to admit because, again, it brings agency and the requirement to act back to you as a person. Things only happen from us. They don't come to us one day. Oh, here you are. This is all the inspiration you need. Now you can sit down, wait patiently. No, that's not how it works. Things happen from within, not from outside. So one of the things that I realized was so helpful was how I would just beat myself up and be extremely critical of myself. It was this kind of self-talk where you're not good enough. And it was what I'd heard from, parents where I was growing up. You repeat what you've heard from your parents, from your friends, from people around you, from your social circle. But would you say this to someone you love? Would you say this to a really close friend? No, you'd never do that because it doesn't make sense. Would you tolerate the way you spoke to yourself if it was coming from someone else? Would you even have this person in your circle? You wouldn't. How would you ever have someone in your life who was saying to you, you're not good enough? You'd never even speak to them. You'd block their number. So we need to stop tolerating things from our own selves that we would not tolerate from anyone else. On a more positive note, I'm extremely proud of starting the podcast this year, of being consistent with it, patient with myself. I'm giving myself the promise to be more gentle with myself, and I'm calling out for you to be more gentle with yourselves, to expand your capabilities, but love yourself in the process. I have a little quiet wish for my future self. Keep trying. Keep taking leaps of faith. Keep loving yourself and loving yourself more. That's my quiet wish to you too. Because how can someone else love us if we don't love ourselves enough? If we don't think we're amazing? If we're not delusional with what we're capable of? Why do we ask for someone else to believe in us when we treat ourselves like we're ordinary? Doesn't make sense. So start thinking of yourself as this incredible human being with infinite potential. Start thinking about what's the thing that you love. What's something that can give you more agency in your day-to-day life? These are questions that can be the beginning of, what's my purpose? Because what's your purpose is too big of a question. To answer it, you might need to start small. So what has your theme been this year? As I personally step into a new year of my life, I'm not chasing alignment or waiting for things to be perfect, or waiting for signs on the outside to tell me I'm on the right path. I'm simply showing up, softer, steadier, and a little more sure of who I am. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the timeline doesn't matter as much as the truth of where something is coming from. When it comes from self-love, it lasts. If you're in a season of your life that feels messy or unsure, I promise none of it is in vain. Nothing is wasted. Experiences are not a waste of time. Every version of you brought you here where you are today, and maybe that's what this year was for me. Learning that becoming myself doesn't require force or signs or someone telling me, yeah, you're on the right path. Just trust. That's what it requires, trust. And a lot of kindness. Thank you for being here. Whether it's your first episode or you've been listening for a while, I'm so grateful to share this space with you, this journey. And as always, if something in this episode resonated, feel free to share it or send it to someone who might need to hear it. I'll see you in the next one. But for now, I'm off to enjoy some cake.